This needs to come in sooner.
We spent all of 2023 freezing cold, in the elements, cranes moving around, hundreds of people on set. Then you get home, and it feels like nothing's happening. It's basically 3 people in a closet at the back of Daily Wire HQ. Well, welcome back to our Pendragon Cycle behind-the-scenes production diaries. These are actually going to be our post-production diaries. We've had our editors hard at work for the last 2 months. Thousands of hours of footage has to be cataloged, edited. It's a huge undertaking. Getting very close to being able to share it with you in January of 2026, but we still have to get through the edit, the color correction, score, mix. That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking to you about over these next few diary entries.
As soon as we got back to the US, we began assembling each episode. An assembly is the first thing you compile before you can really start editing. It's the first time all of the material is put together in sequence. Once they're done, Jared Bentley, our editor, and I take those assemblies and start to do the first pass of each episode. We've got 3 rooms running right now. We've got producers, directors coming through.
It's funny because we're editing very out of order and things in a show that's non-linear as well. So it can get a little confusing.
It's hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage. We spent almost $100,000 on storage alone of the raw footage, which, you know, in a normal project is far less than that.
If we did that, we would most likely need to move the whole section.
It's just a funny truth about filmmaking that you write one show, you shoot another show, you edit still a third show. Editing is really where you create the rhythm, where you create the emotion, where you create all the narrative beats that are necessary to bring the audience along on a journey.
I think at the point where he stands, you could bump the music a little bit because it gets a little lost.
We jumped into editorial beginning of January, and in a very short amount of time, we're making good progress.
Well, I think that final, can you go down to your track? Where's the music track?
Yeah, this needs to come in sooner.
Whoever they were, they've moved on.
Do not raise your hand against me again, Danette. If you wish to keep it.
Alex and I have been working on episode 107 and 103.
Really fun episodes, a lot of great character introductions for episode 3, and then you get the joy of kind of completing the story for episode 7.
The one that's really good is where the sword's falling out.
Editing something like this is kind of like you're walking through a maze and you think you're getting to the finish line, but then you realize you've just run into a wall. And then you have to back all the way out and find the way around. So it's really, really tough.
Our executive producer, Dallas Saunier, I've said before, he's as good as anyone I've ever met in the edit bay. He really understands how to chip away every piece of the rock that isn't the statue. You know, for us on this project, the process has been that Dallas and our wonderful editor, Jared Bentley, they're taking the edit a long way. When they have something that they feel really confident about, then they bring me into the room.
Well, no. Keep him looking up.
So like he's
here to here.
The most exciting part for me is just every day going to work and getting to work with Dallas. Once he gets into a scene, he can start in his brain going, okay, if we move that here and do this and shave 4 frames off of this.
Come out of him a little sooner so you're not bumping on the next change.
We'll make good scenes even better, or scenes that don't seem to be working, we can make them start to work.
That's a what, an 80?
80%.
I think go to a 90.
All right, so we want this just reverted back to, we'll usually spend a week or 2 per episode, and then the next step from there would be to have Jeremy sit with us and do his cut.
Some of what happens when the directors get involved and do our pass through the edit is very, very subtle. We came in and only made like 3 or 4 small notes on a scene.
You keep the line, if only that were enough.
There were other places where we just took a scene completely back down to the bones and started over. In the end, it has to ultimately be the show that I've been dreaming about for 20 years now. That's the project that we all signed up for. It's been a great process so far. As we work on the show, Kyle McCuiston, our composer, has been hard at work with the score.
I'm Kyle McCuiston. I'm the composer for Pendragon. We're in my newly constructed studio here just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. My philosophy is if you want something that's not just good, but actually says something meaningful, it needs to have melodic significance. We're trying to push the limits of what these tools can do. You're reaching for those orchestration heights, and it's very difficult to pull them off. Combining these elements together should say something unique. There's about 4 hours of music that I wrote before production began. I wanted to create sort of a library of melodies. Pretty much all of this material here was put together before a single frame was shot for Pendragon. Most of it we're still using now. It's just kind of evolved into more structured, pieced together suites.
One of the real advantages that we had on the Pendragon Cycle is that Kyle started writing sketches for the score before we ever left for Europe. And so all throughout our location scouting, all throughout production, we would be listening to these sketches that he would write. We'd be making notes, giving feedback, hearing back from him. And so a lot of this sort of music was in our mind as we were producing the scenes. A lot of my early conversations with Kyle were about more of a classical Hollywood score, something that we haven't really gotten a lot of since the early 2000s or even the late 90s. We want a lot of melody, a lot of motifs. I want 20 years from now, people to be able to hum 3 notes and recognize elements from the score of the Pendragon Cycle.
Our approach for the music is a balancing act between high orchestration and textural period instruments.
Kyle is an incredibly gifted musician, and he's brought all kinds of authentic and period-specific instruments to bear to make this score really feel like you're living in the world of Merlin and the other characters.
Viking toggle harpa, we're using medieval rebec, we're using violin, harp.
One of the challenges for Kyle, I think, is that we were finishing episodes not necessarily in sequential order. We sort of had to start with almost an outline of what would be needed for the show so that he would then be able to go and more effectively score the episodes out of order. We sort of have to start thinking in terms of the character motifs themselves. What melody will accompany each character? What instruments will be most used to evoke the sense of that character? As we finish those suites, we'll be better prepared to get back into the episodes and do the actual hard work of scoring the show.
So this is the main theme for Pendragon. That basically works as more of an abstract idea. They're trying to bring these fragmented tribes together for a common cause. And to me, I thought it was a really cool idea to have a tune that was based on this abstract idea. And so you'll hear this tune come up at a point in the show where they're actually working to unite these tribes.
She's off her mark because Taliesin looked into her soul. So I definitely think she's
in a fragile state.
Yeah.
Karis's theme, for example, started off, just with like a sound carpet. And so you're just hearing, textures, instruments. Eventually you get to this sketch. as a character, I feel like once we get into this, you're actually getting underneath all of the walls that she's built up. And so it's almost like the true Karis theme, or what the way I see it as the true Karis theme. It's probably going to be more of a episode 1, episode 2 thing, which I haven't gotten to yet. But that's kind of, that's my if you build it, he will come sort of thing.
And we are set. Action!
Yeah, cut this back. It's pretty cool in this process of discovery. You just see things that you didn't see on the day when you were on set. For me, all of the battle stuff that Dan and Balaj put together, very technical. Even when you're standing there when they're shooting it, it can be very hard to see because you're trying to get just seconds worth of footage that's going to splice in. And I think that the battle stuff just exceeds all of my expectations. You have this close-up in the same take.
Try to cut in right there, though, right as his body's shifting to the right.
Unless you've done it before, it's very hard to appreciate just how laborious and tedious at times the editing process can be. The decisions that you're making in that room aren't second by second, they're frame by frame. I mean, it's these incredibly fine decisions that you're making. It's also not easy to communicate these ideas when you're trying to tell the editor, hey, we need 3/24 of a second more on this shot. How long are the 2 shots of the Kings?
22 frames, and this guy is 22 frames, so they're exactly.
Now make the next shot 22 frames. That seems obvious when I say it here because it's one single thing that you go through day after day after day, shot after shot after shot. That's not easy communication to have sometimes. It's an incredibly technical process, incredibly time-consuming process, and it requires the highest level of attention to detail.
Take unfair advantage, friend.
Where are you going?
Wisdom does not embrace such.
Fix the music, and I think that's great.
We're just about through with the edit, at least the initial edit. But whereas most movies now would lock picture, we're only going to soft lock. The reason for that is we're about to head back overseas, do some pickups, a couple of shots that we're not happy with, and a couple of new scenes that we think could really help one of the episodes. When we get back from that, we'll start thinking about actually locking picture and moving forward with the rest of post-production.